Hey everybody, remember this little 30 meter project here that I just did the transmitter on a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago? Well, here's the rest of it. You dragged it off the shelf and reworked it a little bit. Got a digital dial going. Here's the VFO and the RIT, all DC tuned, very stable. Here's the receiver section right here. Back here is a transmit mixer that eventually will plug into the transmitter. And that little wire is just a little output. So let me hook this up and show you how it works. Okay, got a bit of an antenna on here, not the best in the world, but it'll be good enough. And give you a quick demo here on how this thing works. Of course, we're on 30 meters. 10K pot, 10 turn 10K pot over here does the DC tuning. This is RIT on and off. Back here, if you can see, it's a tiny little control that's going to be the RIT control. I'll eventually have a regular pot on the front panel. Voltage regulator in the back. Here's the VFO. And most of the receiver is right in here. There's a transistor here that shorts the antenna input to ground during transmit. So the receiver stays active. That way I don't have to generate a separate side tone. There's a pre-selector RF gain control, that'll be out front. Mixer oscillator, VFO comes in here, the white coax, and mixes it with the 30 meter RF, results in a 4 megahertz IF, goes through this Varactor tuned variable bandwidth filter. This control will be out front too. That controls the bandwidth. Then the product detector, form of AGC and LM386 audio amplifier. And way in the back here, just for testing, I have a transmit mixer that'll eventually plug into the power amplifier that I did a week or so ago. So let's tune around and see what happens. Now I can adjust the bandwidth. I hope you can hear the pitch change. Eventually the insertion loss overrides it, but that can be handy. So let's find some more signals here. Varactor diodes are pretty cool little gadgets. Here's the RIT. I don't have it quite centered. Let's get it centered first. Where was I? 114.5. Okay. So RIT on. I have about a plus or minus 3.5 kilohertz swing when I get this control out on the front panel. Okay, so that's the RIT. Okay, now I mentioned this one transistor here right at the front end shorts out the receiver input during transmit. So if I go into transmit, and by the way, these LEDs are just for me, they're not part of the final thing, just when I'm troubleshooting or whatever. Okay, so now I've turned on the transmit mixer here. This acts as a little antenna. We'll tune it in on the K3 and look at it on the pan adapter here in a second. But this transistor has shorted the input, but the receiver is still active. So I don't need to generate a separate side tone, I just use this. And that, you know, saves a few components. Okay, let me set this up for display. Okay, I'm on 10.118 and I'm going to put a signal out here, so let me key it. And I think you can see on the pan adapter there that signal right in the center. In fact, let me decrease the span from plus or minus 15 kilohertz to plus or minus 1. And we'll see if we can get that a little closer. Right about there, I guess. Okay, now if I turn the RIT on, and let me adjust that way in one direction, say plus 3 kilohertz. And now I go to key it again, and as I fiddle with the RIT control here, you see that the transmit frequency doesn't budge a bit. So it took me a little while to get there, but very stable. Okay, that ticking in the background goes away when I get near it. Comes back when I move my hand away. That's weird. Anyway, that's it. Let's see. It all runs off a little 12-volt battery. I'm showing 12.4 volts, and what's my current? Hundred and 120 milliamps. Now the cool thing is, well, I've got these LEDs just so I don't leave the thing on. But if I pull out the LED, which is not part of the final deal, and I want to go for bare minimum current draw to preserve battery life, I turn off the display, and now I am down to 30 milliamps. And even if I find a strong station here, maximum audio, about 35 milliamps. So not very much current consumption unless you want it. Anyway, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the receiver. I was copying VKs and JAs, and anything I could hear on the K3 I could pretty much hear on this, especially with the same antenna split with a little homebrew 3 dB splitter. So all conditions being equal, this is performing, you know, pretty good for just a handful of components. And I really like this filter. Anyway, that's it for now. The next step will be trying to package all, well, actually, I'm going to hook the transmitter up to the mixer here and see if I'm still getting a couple of watts output, and then we'll think about packaging the whole mess. I don't know how yet, but that's the final deal. So keep tinkering. That's it for now.